Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Dominic Cotroneo is joining us here this morning. Dominic, how you doing, bud?
Good morning, Dan. How are we doing up north?
Not bad, man. Not bad. It's a victory Friday with the Packers, but also we're getting ready to wrap up a Brewers regular season that's had definitely a lot of highs this year, man. So, I mean, this is the first time we've gotten to chat with you, I think, since, the season started. Just how big of a surprise has this team been for you watching them firsthand?
I picked them to win the division in the beginning of the season, and I was laughed at, which is fair. I'm still very shocked that this is the way that they're going to do it, with 14-game winning streak, an 11-game winning streak, an 8-game winning streak. Like, when you sit down and look at the number 3 straight games that they won at one point I'm not saying all consecutively, but there was 33 games in a row that they won. That's kind of nuts, and that's the whole reason they're going to win the division. And it's really the entire barrier that they've built for these final 15 games where, yes, maybe the foot has been left off the pedal for a little bit here because they know they're going to the playoffs. But this has been a season of, opportunity. And it's literally the first thing that Pat Murphy said in spring training was, this is an organization of opportunity. And the guys that I think of that took their opportunity are Isaac Collins, are Chad Patrick, and now even Bryce Terang.
You mentioned Bryce Terang, and a question I was going to ask you about Bryce Terang. I mean, we've seen the emergence of his power this year and just the offensive threat he has become. I mean, how has that offensive growth from him, increased his value to his team and to where, I mean, when we talk about value to teams or offensive players, it's Jackson, it's Yelich, and Contreras. Is Terang in that category now, in your opinion?
I think Terang's firmly in that category, especially because I talked about this on my show last night where, all the comments about, how are they going to replace 30 homers from Willie Adames? How are they going to do this? And then what if I told you that Bryce Terang was going to be third on the team in homers next season? Everyone would be saying, oh, my goodness, did William get traded? What happened? Well, the fact that Yelly leads is a good sign. Remember, that's one way to replace homers from Adames is the fact that he only got half of a season from Yelly last year. Number 2, Churio missed a month, and he still got 20 homers. And now Terang's got a chance to have his first 2020 season, which is no small feat, no matter what we say about the stolen bases. I mean, the beginning of the year, there were conversations about the fact that he's gotten stronger, the bat speed is there, you could see some quality of contact, but he was still missing fastballs. Now he's hitting fastballs. He's hitting them the other way. He's hitting them to center field. So it's like, okay, he's on the fastball, and he's still got good plate discipline to stay off sliders down and in. So this is another leap forward for Bryce Terang this season.
Looking at, I want to mention Sal Frelick too, and the season he's been having at the plate. It's so interesting and fascinating to see Terang and Frelick in the last couple of years, just how much they have improved from an offensive standpoint. Dominic, I mean, is there something different in their approach, or is it just the transition, or them kind of just gaining more experience and maybe more comfortable at the plate?
I mean, for all the kids, get in the weight room.
Yeah.
It's just you get stronger. Go get some protein powder, man. Because it's not like, and I'm just going to try to paint the picture here. Bryce was always a slim, slender, but kind of wiry, strong kind of guy. He still is wiry, strong, but you could see the bulk that he's put on, a good 15 pounds. Sal, go watch the highlight of Sal's homer, the back-to-back in Game 3 of the wild card last year. And then just look at any home run he's hit this year. You can see the difference. The jersey fits him now. It doesn't look like pajamas last year. So the way that their offensive profile has changed is not because they're these ginormous human beings, but they've added good strength in the parts that count. And Sal doesn't hit the ball hard, but the moments that he does hit it hard, he's now able to put a little punch behind it and make it through an entire season. I think both these guys turn the levers a little bit of saying, hey, I have an elite ability to make contact with the baseball. But if I can add a little bit of strength behind it, if I can add maybe a little bit bigger of a swing on certain occasions, I can get a little bit more pop, and that's what we're seeing this season.
I want to ask a little bit about the pitching, Dominic. And Jacob Mizorowski's previous start, he goes over 100 pitches, which I don't know about you, but it kind of surprised me because, we kept hearing maybe trying to conserve him a little bit and maybe get him ready for the postseason. How big of a surprise was that to see them let him go over 100 pitches? And do you think he's one of those top 4 in the rotation when it gets to the postseason?
I think the question about innings limit, this is what it was for, to see what he's got and to see if he's able to do it. Now, with all due respect to Miz, and it was a great performance, the Pirates are the worst offense in baseball. So in the major leagues, you got to do it again. And the Cardinals aren't a very good offense either. Can he do it against the Cardinals coming up on Sunday? The point being for Miz, that innings limit that we talked about, this is what it's for. Find out if you're a starter. And quite frankly, I don't think he's in the top 4 for the Brewers heading into their postseason, because here's why. In the DS, you only need 3 starters. There's an extra off day between Game 1 and Game 2 this year. This alternates every year between the American League and the National League. So this year, the National League gets an extra day off between Game 1 and Game 2, which means Game 1 starter can go on Game 4 on normal rest, and Game 2 starter can go on Game 5 in normal rest if necessary. That being said, Miz is in my bullpen, and he's available in the postseason. My 3 would be Freddie, Woodruff, and Priester, and maybe Quintana if it's a matchup where a team just really struggles with lefties.
Dom, I know in one of our conversations I think it was around the time when Counsell had left and trying to figure out who the manager was going to be, and Pat Murphy, and I remember we talked a little bit about Chris Hook, and I remember when Pat Murphy was hired, we heard that players were asking, is Chris Hook going to stay? Is he still going to be there? And we see the job. You mentioned Quinn Priester, the job that he has done with him and some of these other pitchers. I mean, you see it firsthand over there. Just how vital is Chris Hook to the success of this team?
Chris Hook is the kind of coach and the kind of mentor and the baseball mind that is the envy of every other organization in baseball, because a couple of reasons. He came through this organization, step by step, meaning, he was a low minor league pitching coach. He was then a pitching roving coordinator. Then he was a pitching coordinator. Then when Derek Johnson left, and I remember people going, oh my gosh, how are they going to replace Derek Johnson? And Chris Hook was ready to step into that role. And you look at what they have done since he took over in 2019, it's simply incredible. And for Hook, the way that he's able, we've used this term before, a conduit, where you can take the modern stuff, you can take the numbers and the pitch design and all that stuff. But one of the things the Brewers do better than any other organization in regards to pitching development is, sounds simple, Dan, but they teach you how to pitch. It's easy to teach you how to throw a pitch, like, hey, let's get your slider to be X number horizontal, X number vertical, and you throw it this hard. It's easy to do that. Anybody can do that. That's why there's 5 different of these organizations that do that in the off season. But the ones that can teach you to sequence and to pull and push and to teach you to read swings and to teach you to locate and have pitches work off of each other, that's where the great pitching coaches come in, and Chris Hook is one of those guys.
So we got to the final 15 games here. Things have gotten a little bit closer in terms of the National League standings. Phillies are inching up a little bit closer, but the Brewers do hold the tiebreaker there. Outside of wins in these final few series, Dominic, what do you want to see from the Brewers as they get set for the postseason that maybe gives you a little bit more confidence for a deeper postseason run this year?
I mean, the only thing that matters right now is getting healthy. I mean, this bullpen needs to get healthy. Trevor McGill will be back during this homestand. Nick Mears is already playing catch again, so he'll probably be back on a minimum stay for him. Then you look at the fact that the Brewers just got Grant Anderson back on this road trip, sneaky underrated piece of the Brewers' success in their bullpen right now. Give Aaron Ashby a little bit of a breather. You know, by getting swept by the Rangers, you gave both Koenig and Uribe a breather there as well. So make sure this bullpen is ready to go for the postseason is my number one request, because look, bullpens decide October. They really do. We talk so much about starting pitchers, but it's really the guys in left center that decide this game. And then the other thing I want to keep an eye on, what's going to happen at first base? Is Andrew Vaughn going to continue to be a good hitter? Because I don't see a scenario where the Brewers carry 3 first basemen in October. To have both Vaughn and Reese is a little redundant. I think for certain Jake Bauers is on this roster because he would be the only lefty off the bench. So that's something to monitor in these final 2 weeks.
Dominic, before I let you go here, as you look at these last, couple weeks of the regular season and such, who do you think is maybe give me a key player down this stretch to kind of maybe keep an eye on, or somebody that you want to see kind of really get hot, maybe can be a difference maker in the postseason?
I think the number one guy that needs to be that guy is Brandon Woodruff. He had a good start his last go-around, but he had that little blip in the radar in the middle of August, even despite the Brewers winning all those games, and at the end of August as well. But when Brandon Woodruff is Big Woo, I mean, he doesn't have 97 anymore. We know that. But when he's able to command it like he did in his last start, when he's able to use the changeup and have swings and misses on that pitch, right, Brandon Woodruff is going to be such an important piece for the Brewers because, like I just said, they only need 3 starters, and they would need Brandon Woodruff to go on a 5th-day rotation if he's going to start Game 2 and Game 5 if necessary. The quote that sticks with me from Christian Yelich is, "There is nobody I want more ever that I have played with than Brandon Woodruff to start a game that we need to win." And I think that's the plan right now, where it would be Freddie in Game 1, Woodruff in Game 2, Priester Game 3, and then back to, if necessary, Freddie Game 4, Woodruff Game 5. So that's where my eyes are going for Woodruff's final 3 starts.
Dominic, man, thank you so much for joining us here this morning and chatting some Brewers. Looking forward to catching you with your shows. And I know once in a while when I catch it on TV, BA is giving you shout-outs on there too. So keep up the awesome stuff, man. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, and we appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, Dan. Trying to squeeze in some Brewers talk all around this Packers talk. We're trying to remind people it's still baseball season.
Right, we got a first-place team, man. We got to keep that going. We got to keep that hype going. So definitely. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.